Now that you've been given notice from the Connecticut DMV that you're eligible for the Ignition Interlock program, you need to know the process in getting one in your car. Roughly 2 weeks before you're eligible for restoration, you should begin this process. The new process has been streamlined by the DMV, which means that now, as the client, you should contact the Ignition Interlock vendor and coordinate an installation. During this time, you may be under your work permit, but that doesn't mean you can drive to the installation center. You will need to have a friend or family member take it or have the car towed to the installation. Remember, you are not driving for work purposes to get the Ignition Interlock device in your car. At the time of the installation, you will need to bring the application and have the installer sign off on it. You are still responsible for filling out the top portion of the application. Once your application is complete, you should forward it to the Department of Motor Vehicles, along with the $100 Ignition Interlock device application fee. The $175 restoration fee should be paid at this time if you haven't submitted it earlier. Essentially, you are going to be paying for the Ignition Interlock device to be in your car for a few weeks without being able to use it. We do this to make sure that you have it in your car the minute you are eligible for restoration with the Interlock device in your car. You should understand that the Department of Motor Vehicles takes 10 to 14 business days to process everything. Business days being Tuesday through Friday. Remember, the DMV is closed on Mondays. Therefore, you should understand that a normal week is not enough time for the Department of Motor Vehicles to get it done. By submitting everything to the DMV 2 weeks before you are eligible for restoration, you're giving the Department of Motor Vehicles the time that they need. It still does not guarantee that you will be restored on the date that you are due to be restored for your Ignition Interlock program, but it will make sure that you have it in the car as soon as possible. If your per se suspension and your court suspension from a conviction are both going to issue a 45-day license suspension followed by an Ignition Interlock device term, you only need to serve one 45-day suspension. Because of the conviction, there will be time added to the back end of the Ignition Interlock device term. This means that if both per se and court issue a 1-year term, the IID duration will be restarted after the DUI conviction. It's important to note that the restart doesn't happen the same day as the court conviction. Instead, it happens once the Department of Motor Vehicles receives the notice of conviction from the courthouse. They will send out a letter to you once they find this out. The time frame is usually 30 to 60 days after a conviction. This means that it is possible to have 2 1-year suspensions start at different times. That's why it is so important to have a trained, qualified DUI attorney working to assist you through this process. Give me a call if you need help. We are here to help.